Okay. So, okay, thank you for joining us. Again, my name is Pawan. We have a small group here this week. So we'll keep it pretty interactive. If there are specific areas you want me to cover, I can do that. Or we can show you some group boards. And this is the advanced webinar. So I'm assuming you're familiar with the platform. So we'll cover some of the advanced features, some auto correction, some group boards, some drag and drop activities, and so forth. But if there are specific areas, since it's only for teachers, I'd be more than happy to take requests. All right, so let me get started. So the first thing that I'm going to show you, of course, you all know how to upload content. So you can upload PDFs from your computer, you can upload it from Google Drive, you can upload even Google Slides directly into Whiteboard.chat. So each page in whatever you're loading gets loaded as a page in Whiteboard.chat. Right, so what I'm going to show you now is that I have this PDF. I'm going to start doing text auto correction. So you can put, like, if you go to the tools menu here, oh, sorry, not tools, text. You can say text box for answers, right? So you can put a little text box here, and then you can use the select tool to type in the answers. You can say add answers and points. So say, let's say this is worth 1 point, the answer is by, right? And you can make it ignore special characters. It automatically doesn't care about the case, if it's lowercase, uppercase. If you want multiple answers, you can separate it by semicolons as well. So that's one thing. So this is, so now I'm going to invite a student. Okay. And then, so what, and then I'm going to share this link on the Zoom as well. So you can follow along with me on Whiteboard.chat as a student too. So when a student joins the board, of course, they get their answers, right? So they can use the text tool to write in the box that was provided, right? And then there are two ways to do auto correction. You as a teacher can go in here and say to the 3 dots menu and say auto correct all boards, right? Or you can give students the ability to check their answers on their own, which is a lot of teachers prefer that. So if you go to widgets, you say add link, and then you can put that link anywhere. You can say here and say auto correct and say check answer. Right? So now all of the students have this thing, and they can just use the select tool to click the check answers button, and it will check your answers for you, and you can see the results. Hey, this is right or wrong. And of course, the teacher can see it in the grid view, or you can see it anywhere else as well. Right? So that's pretty interesting. If you want to create a lesson that auto corrects itself, you can make escape rooms out of this as well, which is quite interesting. I will show you that as well, because again, this is a small group. We can do a lot of fun stuff. At any time, if you have questions, if you type it on Zoom chat, or you can unmute yourself and talk, that will work as well. And the second thing, so similar to this exercise, I can create another exercise here as well. So what I can do is that, let's say I want to create a drag and drop exercise, right? So I can use the drop zone for that. I can say, okay, again, draw a box, right? And then you say, make $50. Okay. Now for this exercise, I'm going to use currency. So again, if I go to widgets, gizmos, I can say I'll give you maybe 10 cents and 25 cents quarters. Right? And then, yeah, that should suffice. Okay. And then let me make it a little bit smaller. It'll be hard to see what I want to, but that's fine. Okay, and then say enable student loan. And this one as well, enable student loan. So now the students can make copies of this, but first I have to make $50 myself, so I can do it various different ways. Right? So I can put 5 times and then 4 quarters. That's also the right answer. Right? And again, I just use the select tool, and then I click this thing and say add answers and points, and say this is worth, let's say, 5 points. Okay. And then the things vanish. That means it has registered the answer. So that's a good thing. And now you as a student, or if you want to see what the student can do, they can again put these things in here. They can just use the move tool to drag and drop the currency in here. So let's say I put something 3, 4, 5, right? And then let's say check answer, right? And this one is wrong, of course, because I need 2 more quarters or 5 more times. Right? Either one will work. I can put in 2 more quarters, and then I can check my answer one more time, and then you see that the answer becomes right. So yeah, there are different ways you can do drag and drop activities and do auto correction, and you can do this with anything. You don't have to use our whiteboard provided gizmos. You can get internet images from the internet. You can use those. You can do anything from that sort. So let me check why it didn't like your answer. Oh, because I think you put the dollar bill directly from the from the gizmos. If you use the coins from here, it'll work. Or if you, yeah, so if you put it from one of those coins, it'll work. I think it just matches the number of objects. It doesn't do the combinations. You'll have to do exactly what I did for it to match in that case. No, this won't work either, because in this case, what it is doing is doing an exact match for the number of objects that I had put. So you have to put 5 times and 4 quarters. But if you were doing, for example, a counting game, then it would have worked in the way you were saying. So it's the same way the drop zone. So if I put the drop zone, for example, here again, right, instead of making it autocorrect, I can just use the same methodology, and I can use the select and say make auto counter, right? And when I make it an auto counter, then if you drag and drop anything into it, I should not do that because students. Yeah, so as a student, if I drag and drop stuff into the drop zone, into the auto counter, you'll see that it counts properly. But in the case of drag and drop activities, it needs to do an exact match or as to what the teacher had put in. So so another activity. So what I'll do is that, for example, let's go to page number 3. Right, and page number 3 has a PDF already. Let's do page 4. Right, on page number 4, if I so what I can do is that I can create another activity using the tile factory. right? And in this case, there are many things you can do with the tile factory. You can make matching tiles. You can make guessing tiles. This is a new thing which is quite popular. So I'm going to hide my screen for a second. Stop sharing. Right. So what I did was, I'll show you how I created this in a second. But essentially on page number 5, it's like a hangman equivalent. We cannot call it hangman, but basically what this, if you go to page number 5 on your whiteboards, you will see the game as well. And then it's the name of a movie, page number 4, sorry. Right, and it's the name of the movie, and you can play along. You can try and guess what the name of the movie is, right? And then if you guess wrong, one of the bears goes away, and you have 5 chances to guess the name of the movie. So this is also pretty common, a new thing that a lot of teachers are using recently. And you can do a lot more things with the tile factory, which I will try and show you as well. Another interesting thing is group activities. So I'll show you how we can create a group. So when the students are already part of, so let's say the students are already part of a class, right? What we can do is that we can create a group board, right? We can do it 2 different ways. We can do auto-created groups. I think this is the simplest. We can say, hey, I want at least 3 people in a group, or in this case, let's just do 4 people in a group, and it'll automatically create my groups for me, right? So now you would have, all of you would go to auto group 1, right? And then you can see that now all of us can actually interact with each other on that group page, right? So but even on the group board, you can see that we cannot erase each other's handwriting. We cannot erase each other's work. The teacher still can see who wrote what, right? So that's also an interesting thing, that you cannot erase other students' writing or their work even on the group boards, right? So that makes it, if I try to erase, for example, here, right, I cannot erase what the other people have put. Right? I can erase, of course, the things that I have put as a student, but I cannot erase the stuff that the other people have put. Right? And then if I go back as a teacher, so this is the teacher screen. Right? If I join that group, for example, the group that is created, I can join it from here. This is the easiest way. And then if I join there, I can see who wrote what. If I use the select tool, right, I can go and select one of the objects. You can say, hey, who wrote? It says here last updated by student Sid. So Sid is the one who wrote this hello group here, right? So it's easy to track who wrote what here. This was updated by Lisa, which I'm assuming is also Sid. So, and once you're done with the group activities, right, you can close the group. You just click this. Okay, wow. Yeah, once you're done with the group activity, the trash icon is done. Okay. Apparently, yeah. So anyway, let's continue.
Yeah, I think for the auto groups, you cannot close those, but if you explicitly created the groups, then you can close them.
Yeah, but we should have the ability to close the auto created. We can.
I think the students can click on the participants and then say go to my board, and then they can go to your.
Yeah, but that's harder for younger kids. Okay. Anyway, yeah, we can talk about it. So So yeah, students have the ability to toggle between their personal boards and then the group boards, so they can go between those two if they choose to. Right. Okay, so then of course on the group boards you can, as a teacher, for the group activities you can use any of these gizmos as well. So if, for example, if I want to put like a spinner which automatically updates with student names, I can put that on the board as well. And then if I set it to students can spin and synchronize students spins, then on the group boards the students can all play together using the spinner as well, right? So that helps to keep everything in sync when they are in the group board and playing a game. Another interesting thing in here is this stoplight. So a lot of teachers use this as well. The stoplight, what it helps you to do is that you get a quick pulse of the class, right? So let me set this to follow teacher mode so that everybody's on the same way. When I set it to follow teacher mode, everybody automatically gets it's a teacher page. So wherever I am, everybody's on the same page, right? And the students can use this stoplight to signal to the teacher how well they are understanding the lesson, right? And the teacher in the grid view can quickly get a pulse of the class to say, hey, who's understanding the lesson, who's not understanding the lesson, where they're at, all of that, right? So that helps students work combined with each other. And then okay, let me show you some other features. This time machine is an interesting thing too. So let me show you. If I told, for example, if let's say I want to join a students group, a students page, one of the easiest way to jump between student pages is to go to this open class boards, right? So if I want to say, hey, I want to go to student Sid's page, I want to make sure it's on page number 1, right? And then you can just click his name and then it will take you to his page number 1, right? And you can quickly go from one student to the next student. You don't have to go through the grid view to do that, right? And on this page, once you're on a student's page, you can use this feature called the time machine right here, where you can go forward and backwards in time and see how the student progressed through the lesson, right? How are they working? How much time did they spend on each problem? What was their approach? And you can go backwards and forwards in time, right? So it helps you to see how, even if they were working asynchronously, you can get their thinking in some sense to figure out how they were working. So this time machine is quite useful as well. A lot of teachers use that. And groups keep going. Okay. Let me go to the next page. On page number 5. So another thing that a lot of teachers like to do is this bingo thing, right? Which is quite interesting as well. So let me show you. So we have several. So like, for example, you can make bingo tiles. So in this case, these are bingo tiles of the original colonies, right? So there are 3, in this PDF, it has 3 different versions of the bingo tiles. Each page is a different bingo tile. I can tell Whiteboard.chat, I can upload bingo from here, right? And then create this, I can use the 13 colonies bingo cards, right? And what happens is that each student, make sure you're on the student board, not on the group board. If you're on the group board, you can just click this and go back to your student board, go to my board. right? And then if you go to page number 5, you can see that now every student gets a different version of the bingo card, right? And they can use gizmos, or they can use a pen to start playing bingo as you call out different things, either using a spinner, or you can just call out things, right? And as a teacher, you can actually watch students as they are playing the bingo as well, right? So which is quite interesting, because now you can kind of cheat as well to make sure that everybody is getting a fair chance to play, right? And you're calling out things properly. So I think this is also quite popular. A lot of teachers use Whiteboard.chat to do this bingo activity with their kids, and kids love it too. All right, what else? Chat. So chat is another way. So as a teacher, what you can do is that you can press this create chat button, right? Now this creates a one-to-many chat. So what that does is that whatever the teacher chats goes to all the students, but whatever the students type only goes back to the teacher, right? Unless they're in a group setting. If they're in a group setting, then of course it will go back to the all the members in that group as well. But the really interesting thing here is that the students can pick their language, or recipients can pick their language rather. So if you click this 3 dots menu on the top, there's a chat language. So you can change this to, let's say, any other language. You want to change it to German, that you can do that. And from now on, whatever the teacher types, it automatically it automatically translates it to the student's language, or the recipient's language, right? So it's easier to communicate with students who do not speak the same language as the teacher, right? And if I, as a teacher, change my language back to English, then whatever the students type will get translated back to me in English as well. So you can communicate it really well with students who are speaking a different language. That helps quite a bit. Do students choose the language? Yeah, so the students can change their language here in the 3 dots menu on the top. You can say chat language, and then they can select which language you want. So you can try that. You can change your language and then refresh your page. Whatever I type will get translated to that language automatically. So, yeah, so for example here. So, and a similar thing, if you have speech to text turned on, it also does the same thing. So this is useful for students who are learning a different language. So if I go to settings, if I say more settings, so you have to enable this. There's a speech to text option here. So this will enable it for the whole class, right? And then now if I type something, you can see that it'll give me this option where it'll try to, first of all, you can pick a language in which you're talking. I can speak Hindi, I'll pick Hindi. And you can pick a language to translate it to at the same time, right? So you can say that, hey, I'm going to talk in Hindi, but it will translate it to English. Okay, and then मेरा नाम पवन है. So you see that it not only wrote what I said in Hindi, it actually translated that to English as well. So it, again, this is also something useful for students to use if they do not understand the language that they're trying to learn, right? It makes it easy for them to answer questions and for the teacher to understand what they're talking about. So this is all through speech to text as well. Said anything, any questions so far? No?
No questions.
Okay. So is there any specific areas you want, you're interested in covering? Otherwise, we can keep showing you stuff which may not be quite relevant, but I'll continue going. But if you can think of things that you would want to see, we can add that too. So, okay, here. So this phone scanner thing is quite useful too. This is a fairly new thing. So what you can do with the phone scanner is that you can use your phone. So you take a photo of this, I mean, not a photo. If you turn on your camera and scan the QR code, it'll take me to the same page where I'm at with on the whiteboard, right? You can upload the picture. So you can say, take a photo. So if I'm doing work with pen and paper, for example, and I can upload it to, this was page number 5, 6. So yeah, so you can see that's not me. Somebody else did that. This is a little doggo. Okay, here. So you can see that this is the page. This is the picture I uploaded. Somebody else uploaded on my page too, which is quite clever. Right. So you can now if the kids were doing work on pen and paper, or if you want to scan your textbook and quickly upload it to Whiteboard.chat, you can do that as well. So that becomes quite useful, and it is available, of course, to everybody to use immediately, right? But that's okay. I think that's so cool. All right. So another thing you can do with the QR code, which is quite interesting, is that you can actually use your phone as a drawing tablet, right? So that becomes, so if I were to go to the same page where this guy is, so I can write with my phone onto the whiteboard as well, and you can see where the phone is at here. So this is the phone, and I can keep writing stuff onto the whiteboard. I can do corrections. I can even if I have a little stylus, I can use that. All of that. So you can use your phone or your tablet as a secondary device and connect it to Whiteboard.chat, which is quite interesting as well. And this is all using the same QR code that I just showed you here. So the QR code you get from the phone scanner here. Of course, the grading reports. So this is useful if you have, but you need the one of the paid plans to use it. So basically what you can see is that, hey, which pages the students have I graded. You can manually grade pages as well. So for example, if I want to go, say, to this student's page number 4, right? And then I can say, you can add a manual grade here, right? You can say manual grade. You can say 50%, or you can just give a letter grade as well, right? So what that does is that now you can keep track of, hey, if I go to if I go to grading report, I can open this. I can see that, hey, which all pages, the star tells me which all pages have been graded and which ones are not graded, right? So you can quickly go through and so I did auto grading for this guy, the page number 1, and for page number 4, which is this, I did the manual grade, right? So you can quickly go through pages and give them grades on all of their pages. So, and then it will automatically keep updating, right? So it helps. So you can say grade A, right? And then this guy gets updated, and then you can go to the next page and say grade A plus, right? So you can keep track of, as you're grading people's pages, which ones actually have a grade on it and which ones don't. So that helps if you're putting marks and stuff on students' pages. Similarly, what you can do is that, of course, teachers use stickers quite a bit. So you can use, so if you use a reward sticker, for example, from here, you can give reward stickers to students directly from this, from the grid view directly. You don't even need to join their page. So for example, the student 1, I give them a trophy, you see it came up here directly. Okay? So similarly, if I were to and give a different shield, right, you can do that too. So and that makes it easy, and you can make sure that these are the if you download the report, right? So if I were to go download the report, let me go to my page. So if I click this little cloud icon on the top, you can say download student report. This will download everything in a CSV format, which I can open. Right, so you can see that, hey, which student, when did they create the page, how many objects did they put, did I ever give them a sticker, right? I gave them a shield sticker and a trophy sticker. I can look at all of that. You can see the scores, the grading scores, and the manual grade all in the same page, right? And then if somebody's chatting, you can actually see what, how many times did they chat, how many times did they raise hands, what were their engagement scores. So all of that information for the whole class is available in this little student report, which is quite useful. Okay. Okay. Let me go back. Let's do some more stuff here. So yeah, so one more thing that you can do from this place is to lock the class. So if you're teaching and you don't want students to disrupt you, or you want them to start at a certain time, you can actually lock this class from here, right? So if you lock the class, for example, then students cannot write anything, they cannot type anything, everything gets locked up for the students, right, until you disable this lock. And then students can start writing and typing. You can also lock it with a timer. You can say, if you start a timer, you can say, I give you 10 minutes, right? Right, and then you can say auto lock boards, and then once the timer start, right, you can see that there's a comment here, whatever I put as a comment, and then everybody gets a timer. And once the timer, I didn't do the auto lock, but if I had, it will automatically lock the boards after that. So if you're doing a timed activity, that helps as well. Right. I think that's pretty much it on this menu. So in the one another interesting thing that you can do, of course, you don't need to lock objects, because by default, anything that the teacher puts on the whiteboard.chat for the students cannot move and change, right? But if you want to lock things so you don't accidentally move them, there's an option here to say lock all objects on this page. If you select that, it will automatically lock all the objects, right? You can, of course, unlock individual ones using the select tool, right? But it'll lock everything that you have put on the board automatically. You can also do this. This is quite popular as well. So a replication to students. So let's say I want to write something on my board and I don't want it to be replicated to the student's board, right? So if I, let's say, I'm solving a problem, but I don't want it to overwrite on all the all the students board. So if by default, if I do something here, it shows up all the time, right? But if I want to stop doing that, you can say toggle replication to students, and this thing shows up. So now whatever I draw, it won't show up on the student pages, right? So you can see that whatever things I'm doing on my board as a teacher, it just remains on the teacher board and never gets replicated to student. And even if you stop it, these things will never go there. But anything you do subsequently, like if I draw something else, only the new stuff starts to get replicated, right? Nothing else. So the existing objects stay there as is. Okay. That's one. We did all of these grades, of course. Oh, the breakdown tool. Let me show that to you too. That's quite interesting. So if you have, let's say you have math manipulators, right? This works with currencies, anything that can be broken down. So if you have a math manipulative of 100 block, you can use the breakdown tool with it to say, hey, break it down. And if you click it, it'll break it down to 10 tens. And then if you break it down more, it'll break it down to 10 ones and so forth. So there's an easy way to teach students how to break down bigger objects into smaller objects. It works with currencies also. If your country's currency is not here, and if you want us to add it, just let us know and we'll be happy to add it. Right, so you can see that it works with currencies as well. It goes to coins and then so forth. So again, this breakdown tool is quite useful, especially for younger kids. Any questions, Sid?
Yeah, there's just a question right now about the breakdown tool. Can the students also use it?
Yeah, so for the students to use it, the students have to put the gizmo there on their own. So if you, as a student, either you can put it for them. So if you, let's say I put, where is it? Manipulator. I put a block there, but in this case, what I can do is that instead of I click this and say enable student move, right? So then if as a student I've moved this and then I can use the breakdown tool. So either I have to drag it down out myself or if I change it, oops, I should have done clone. Yeah, I think one thing that I was thinking that we should add is a auto duplicate. So that just like you have clone, and we can add an option to automatically duplicate the object on the student's board. That will help with things like the watch, the clock as well. So we can add that. But anyways, the students can put their own currency if they want. So if they want to go anything that the students put in there, they can use it with that. So if they put a let's say 1,000 block, they can use the breakdown tool with it. Same with the currency. And this is quite interesting. All right. And then so I'll also show you this factory for the place value chart is quite interesting as well. So we have place value charts in here, but teachers asked us to make this more configurable. So you can say that, hey, I want only these place values, and it will create me this little place value chart, right? And then of course you can use it with the little circles or the any object really, right? And then you can put in numbers there and you can break it down. So it helps from that perspective as well. And there's another factory. I'll show you some more factories. The table factory is pretty straightforward. You just say, if you want to draw a table, I want 5 rows and 5 columns. You can make the first row a header, and you can make this table a square. So it draws a little nice table for you for whatever purpose you can use it for. Right. So that's the table factory. And then there's a tile factory. The tile factory can do many different things. So each of these are called out here. So the simplest one is to actually just put, let's say I want to create tiles, A, B, C, D, E, F. Right? And then of course I want to set it to students can clone, right? And it'll just make me those tiles, right? And then as a student, if I go to that page, I can move those little tiles. Well, I set it to clone, so you can clone it, right? So that's the simplest one, right? The other one is you can make cards. So this is also quite interesting. So let me make it on a different page. You can make different type of cards. This one, a lot of teachers have asked us to make cards such that they can put their own images and sounds and stuff like that. We are looking into it, but the simplest way is that, let's say if you were to use your computer's emojis, right? Let's say I want to do flags. Probably right. So you can just create these, and then as students you can see it'll make flip cards for me, right? So you can use the select tool, click on the top. Oops. Oh, I didn't set the. Make sure you select student and move, and then you create it. And then you can see that the students can, it's like a flashcard, right, with two sides. Instead of a flashcard, you can also make them matching cards. So instead of flashcard, if I want to make it a matching card, right, you can do that. So now you can shuffle it around, right? And then as a student, if I were to select the right pair, right? So if I say Canada and this one, it doesn't do anything. But if I select the right pair, it vanishes. So you know that you're selecting the right pair. So you can use different ways to do this, matching cards as well. You can make it.
So one quick question, Pawan. Mrs. Owen said that she doesn't see the flags. She simply sees BR, Brazil, and Canada. Maybe you need to click on them to flip it.
I can see it on her. Maybe if you can share, you're saying that you don't. Oh,
it just doesn't show the emoji.
Okay, maybe because of the Mac and Windows thing. Are you on a Windows machine? Yeah, maybe that's right. Okay, because I created this with a Mac, maybe, and I used the Mac's emoji. Maybe it doesn't like it.
Lisa sees it. Lisa sees it on a Mac.
That's a good to know. Okay. All right, and then let's continue. So same with the tile factory. You can also make American Sign Language tiles. So you can do things like this. clear this. So you can see that it creates separate lines. So you can use these to teach people sign language if you want to do it. So that helps. I think that's all the thing. Guessing tiles I showed you earlier, that you just type a sentence here, and then like the last Jedi. And if you want to break it into 2 sentences, you do that. How many chances, how many bears you want, you can put that here. And then just hit create, it will create the whole board for you. Like that. And then, yeah, then the students get to play that. And if they get a score also to see how much percentage they got right or didn't get right. What else do we have here? We have a basic calculator, the GeoGebra's calculator that is built into Whiteboard.chat. There is a way you can add. So this add link is quite interesting. So the add link, if you use, you can make it to go to a certain page in the book. So if you want the students, if you want to create a index and they click a page, it will directly send them to that page. You can make it autocorrect. You can make it run block coding, which I don't think we have time to cover. You can navigate to a certain to a group board, navigate back to the individual board. All of that you can create here. Or of course, you can link external websites also. You can also embed external websites or YouTube videos. So I will show you that. So if let's say I want to embed a YouTube video here, right? You just put this thing here and go to YouTube. And pick any URL, right? And you can say start time in seconds, start at time, let's say 5 seconds, and end at time 20 seconds, right? And that's it. So it'll actually take out even the ads from the students. So it'll just put the video there without the ads, and then the time will start from the time you specified, and it'll automatically end at the time you specified. So it will not, these ads, it doesn't take the ones in the beginning, right? So you can just make them watch a particular section of that YouTube video that you wanted. Right? Similarly, you can also have it embed external websites, which allow you to embed them. For Wikipedia, for example, you can similarly embed that here, right? You can say, if you go to Wikipedia, you can just embed something for the kids to read, right? Like, and then it'll again be embedded inside the whiteboard directly. That makes it useful. So I'm doing this on Amy's board, so maybe not all of you are seeing it.
The question that the students can't add the website to, right?
Yeah, the students cannot add it. Oh, you can restrict. So I'll show you that too. That's also quite useful. So if you want to restrict, so if you go to settings here, you can do 2 things. You can say students see very simple tools. Students see simple tools where the number of tools that the student sees are restricted. You can even go down to very simple tools, right? So if you do very simple tools, the student don't have access to very few tools here. You see there are only 4 or 5 tools, and they don't have any other widgets and gizmos there, right? So they don't have any of those things. You can actually, if you go to more settings here, you can customize the tools to the nth degree for the students, right? So you can actually click this customize tools, and you can disable individual tools completely. You can say, hey, I don't want the students to have a bathroom break button or speed up or speed down button. So you can disable that completely from the students' boards, right? I don't want them to have access to the widgets. I don't want them to have access to, let's say, the all widgets and gizmos. You can disable that. You can even set the font size. So you want to say, hey, I want to only allow font size of 5. The brush size is 3, right? And the color for every student is black, right? And that is basically, and if you hit that save, right, then all the students now all the students colors, you can see you only have color black to use, right? You have set everything for the students. They cannot change anything on their side, and all the gizmos go away. All of the stuff on the side goes away as well. So you can customize what students have access to and what they don't have access to as well. Okay, any other questions?
Okay.
All right, so let me change that back. So one other cool thing, let me show you this. We recently added, as if I were to start a new session, you can set your whiteboard to be in dark mode. Right? So basically your whites become black, the background becomes black, it becomes a blackboard instead. Right? So, and then you can use lighter colors to write on it, which is quite interesting. And so, it helps. So if I were to invite a student, they won't, of course, get the same setting. Yeah, so they also get a dark whiteboard. So yeah, so you can play around with it. You can set a blackboard instead of a whiteboard. Again, let me share this link with you if you guys want to see what it looks like on your computer. But the problem is I set the color to black. Let me undo that. We remove all of these, it will allow the students to change stuff back. So now you can change color and stuff. All right, what else do we want to show? On the top right side here, you see it shows you what mode you're on. So you always know you're in draw mode, for example. If you change the mode, you can quickly see I'm in select mode, I'm in move mode. That helps. If you use the pan and zoom thing, so if you zoom out, for example, if you want to go back to your original setting, that you just hit this zoom thing, it'll take you back to your 100% zoom level. That's quite useful as well. Teachers also use the browser zoom. So you can actually use the browser zoom to, if you have a smaller screen or if you have a larger screen and you want to zoom in and zoom out, you can do that too. It works with the browser zoom, which is zoom in and zoom out from your browser window. That helps. Another thing that we recommend teachers to do is to set the default screen size for the class. So if your students mostly have Chromebooks, for example, you set the page to a Chromebook size, right? And then it'll show you a little dotted line around where the page ends for the students. So you know that I should be using only that much of the screen, not the whole screen. Right? That helps students to play around with this Chromebook size. And then you can, of course, reset it.
Did you want to show the grid view labeling thing?
Oh, sure, I can show that too. Change the color to a darker color. Okay, so one thing that if you have a lot of students in your class, if you go to the grid view, what you can do is that, of course, you can change the grid settings here. So you can say, hey, I want 2x2 grid or a 5x6 grid, right? You can also, this one doesn't have multiple pages, but let me add one more page on the student. So let's say this is page number 2, right? So what I can do is that if I quickly want to flip through the pages, I can turn on this board browser here, right? Instead of saying, show me everything in real time, I can say, show me everybody's page number 1, right? And then you can say, show me everybody's page number 2, right? And you can flip through pages in grid view as well, which is quite useful for advanced teachers, right? And then you can, of course, go back to real time and see where the students are actually at. And if you want to focus on one particular student, for example, you can just search partially by their name and it'll show you only SIDS. And if you want to see multiple students, you can just separate them by commas, and then you can see multiple students searches here. Another way that we added is this thing where you can mark certain students. So say I have attended to this student already, right? And I don't want to see all the boards that I've attended to. So you can say I want to hide boards that are already attended, and it'll reduce the number of boards I see on my screen, right? Similarly, I can say, hey, I want to see only everything that I marked as pink, right? Maybe. And the students don't see this on their side. They don't see the labels on their side. As students, you can see, right? So you can say, I only want to see pink boards, right? That'll narrow my view only to the pink boards, and I can observe only those 2 students, right? So it helps speed up or focus on certain students and not on the other students as they're progressing through their lessons. And like I said, the students don't see these labels on their boards, and you can create your own. So if you want to create your own label, you can create it here as well, which you can reuse again and again. I think that's all we have time for today. If you have questions, we'll stick back together, but I'm going to stop my recording right now, and then we can continue answering questions.